Okay, we're ready to start.
Good evening, and thank you all for joining us here today as we discuss important issues around gun violence and how it is affecting the lives of our youth. I am proud to host this event tonight with Rep. Stephen Horsford, Rep. Lucy McBath, and Rep. Lisa Blunt Rochester, who in addition to being tireless advocates for their districts, also serve as champions and leaders on this issue in Congress. We are happy to have joining us as our moderator, Pastor Michael McBride, Director of Urban Strategies and Live Free campaign. Pastor McBride has many years of experience in community advocacy and activism, and we are very grateful for him sharing his passion and experience with us today. Right now, the United States is on pace to record the most violent year in terms of gun violence in nearly 2 decades. Gun violence is impacting so many communities across the country, from Illinois to Georgia to Nevada and Delaware. Gun violence is a public health epidemic, and we must treat it as such. Adult or child, Black or white, Republican or Democrat, people are being affected by gun violence every single day. But underserved communities, communities of color, and low-income communities are bearing the brunt of this crisis. And increasingly, children are being impacted by these cycles of violence, whether through being hurt or killed, losing loved ones, or coping with the violence in their neighborhoods. We must focus on the root causes of gun violence while taking preventative measures, especially in our most vulnerable communities. Parents should not have to bury their teenagers, and our youth deserve to grow up playing in parks without fear. It is time for Congress to stand up and help them. Funding community violence prevention is essential in protecting the lives of Americans. We must give our communities the necessary resources to end this public health crisis and give our children a chance to grow up to be doctors, teachers, and future leaders. I have the privilege tonight to be joined by one of those future leaders, Trayvon Bosley, a young activist from Chicago who lost his brother at the hands of gun violence. Trey's activism has led him to speak in front of thousands, including at the March for Our Lives DC rally, and I'm proud that he was my intern. With that, I will introduce my colleague, Stephen Horsford, for a few opening words, followed by Congresswoman Blunt Rochester and Congresswoman McBath. Congressman Horsford.
Well, hello, everyone, and thank you to my dear friend and classmate, Congresswoman Robin Kelly. And it's so great to join with Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester and, of course, Congresswoman Lucy McBath and others who are champions of this bill, along with Pastor Mike McBride and all of the young people who have joined us to share their own stories. Today, across the country, parents are worried about how to keep their children safe. As Congresswoman Kelly said last year, our country suffered the largest single-year spike in homicides on record, driven by a rise in fatal shootings. Now, we know that this spike is unacceptable and that the time for inaction has passed. That's why we must take concrete steps to keep our children and our communities safe. Earlier this summer, my colleagues and I introduced the Break the Cycle of Violence Act, a transformative bill to invest in effective community-based violence prevention and to help save lives. And I'm proud that as of yesterday or earlier today, the Senate has now introduced their budget resolution and reconciliation package that does include the provisions of the Break the Cycle of Violence Act, as well as funding for this bill. We've still got work to do to see it through to passage and to the president's desk, but we are making tremendous progress. We know that the most powerful champions for violence prevention are already embedded in their communities as mentors, faith leaders, and teachers. That's why our bill awards $5 billion in grants over 8 years to community-based organizations that are best positioned to address the epidemic of violence that our nation faces. Community-led efforts are crucial to prevent violence before it has the window to occur. I know the difference that these investments can make personally. I've lived them. 28 years ago, my father was shot and killed at the corner store where he worked on the historic west side of Las Vegas, where I grew up. It was a random, senseless shooting in a neighborhood that had been plagued by gun violence before. Years later, I came back to run a nonprofit, Nevada Partners, just a block away from where my father was shot and killed. The neighborhood was still struggling, but Nevada Partners never had any problems with gang activity or violence because our neighbors know that this is where you come to get help. Now, my story is not dissimilar from others on this call, including Sean Jerion, who is now a leader in our programs at Nevada Partners, helping to break down the cycle of violence. And I know he's going to share his own very meaningful and impactful story. But it makes a difference when we work with our communities instead of against them. That's how you break the cycle. It's how you save lives. So as our country slowly opens back up, we must ensure that we are taking action and making investments to reduce gun violence and violent crimes throughout our communities. And that starts with conversations like the one that we're having today. So again, I'm really excited to be with all of you, to hear from you, and I look forward to working with my colleagues to see that this legislation gets passed. Now, I'd like to turn it over to another great friend and champion for defeating gun violence, the Congresswoman from the great state of Delaware and the President's Congresswoman, Lisa Blunt Rochester.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Stephen. First of all, good evening, everyone. I am honored to join you, to join my good friends and colleagues, Representative Horsford, for your leadership. I'm so glad to hear that our bill, Break the Cycle, has made it another step further. We know we are not at the end yet, and we are looking forward to the day when President Biden can sign it. Also to Congresswoman Lucy McBath, my colleague who has been a champion and has come in with a passion and a purpose to get things done in Congress, particularly around this issue. And then our host this evening, Robin Kelly, who is a true champion. And for those of you who are watching, she never lets any of us forget that this has to be job number one. So thank you so much to my colleagues. It's good to be with Pastor Mike, especially because those who know me know I believe in the word from the Lord and that faith without works is dead. So this is really about us doing the true work of getting things done. And lastly, I am so honored to have joining me from Delaware, Theo Wilson. Now, I'm not going to say anything about Theo's story. Theo can talk for himself and share his story with you. But what I do want to say about Theo is that he has taken pain and turned it into purpose. And that's really what this is about as well. So I want to first say I'm honored to be with all of you. I also want to say that, you know, coming from Delaware, just like myself and Theo will tell you, the president, we are not immune to gun violence and violence in our communities. As a matter of fact, our major city, Wilmington, was one that actually the CDC came in and looked at gun violence as an epidemic because it was just, the numbers were so staggering. Just yesterday, someone called me about his daughter and her fiance getting shot just yesterday and killed. And so every day, these stories are in front of us. But what we're here to do today is to say, this is about us taking action and us breaking the cycle of violence. And so I'm so glad to be joining you. You know, I have to also share that the reason why this is also important is because what we're doing with our bill and with this conversation is looking at evidence-based solutions that help break the cycle, whether it is community outreach programs, some which Theo will talk about, to hospital-based interventions, to youth employment opportunities. We know just from speaking to people in our own communities that there are many barriers out there, including unemployment, fentanyl, mental health issues, lack of food, all kinds of things that contribute. But we're here to say we want to break that cycle. The most important thing about the conversation today, though, is that we're going to hear from young people. It's not about us talking. It's about hearing from young people, hearing your voices and taking those voices and turning it into real action. I am glad now to turn it over to the Congresswoman from the great state of Georgia, again, who has brought both the intellect and the work ethic, but also the heart and the passion to get things done in Congress. Ladies and gentlemen, young people, please welcome Congresswoman Lucy McBath from the great state of Georgia.
Well, thank you so much, Representative Blunt Rochester. Thank you for that great introduction. I'm so proud to work with each and every one of you. And thank you so much to my colleagues, Representative Robin Kelly. I had a chance to meet Robin, and she and I have worked together. We knew the battle that each of us was working in gun violence prevention long before I even came to Congress. And I knew that she was on the front lines in Chicago, in Illinois, where I'm originally from. So, you know, her name preceded her. I knew of all the good work that she was doing to save lives long before I came to Washington. And as Lisa says, she is a stalwart. She is the frontline warrior for each and every one of our communities for everyday gun violence. And also, you know, to Representative Horsford, just so great to have such wonderful advocates. And I'm so sorry as a survivor as well, you know, that he has taken up this mantle. But I understand his need to make sure that everyone is living a life where there is no threat of gun violence. And Lisa, absolutely, she is the president's right hand. That's what I say. She's the president's right hand. And I'm so grateful to be able to serve with her and to glean from her, and also really pay attention to how she serves. And I try to emulate her in so many different ways. But thank you, very special thank you to each of the young people that is with us tonight, that you are joining us to share your stories, because stories are what matter. And stories in this movement moves people and stirs them into action. And thank you to everyone that is joining us online tonight. And I cannot forget, of course, my good friend and the frontline warrior, Pastor Mike McBride, who has been just such a powerful advocate for gun violence prevention in our communities. I had the opportunity to travel around the country with him very early on before I came to Washington, and he has always been just a powerful advocate in the streets, in the trenches, doing the work that needs to be done. But I'm so glad that we are really taking this time today to continue to work to end gun violence, because it takes every single day of our lives, advocacy and movement every single day to really eradicate the fear of gun violence. Already this year, we have taken some important steps toward that goal, as was mentioned. You know, I was very proud to co-lead with a letter with Representative Kelly and my colleagues calling for bold new investments in gun violence prevention. And President Biden actually echoed this call by including significant funding for gun violence prevention in his proposed budget. Yes, this is due to the advocacy and the on-ground mobilizing and organizing that you yourselves have done within your own communities. And I was proud to join Representative Horsford in introducing the Break the Cycle of Violence Act. If passed, or I will say when passed, this legislation will provide much needed funding for evidence-based, research-based community programs that we know will save lives. And the American Rescue Plan that we passed this past March included funding to jumpstart local law enforcement and community programs. This one-time funding is a great step. It's not the only step, but it is a great first step. But we have to do more to make sure that our communities continue to have the ability to have the resources to save lives. And we can't stop with these investments. As I said, this is just the beginning. So much more financial investment, and I will say people capital is also needed to make sure that we are saving lives. We also need to change our laws. The House has passed the Bipartisan Background Check Act, and also the Senate needs to pass it too, so that we can make sure that background checks actually work to keep guns out of the hands of those who shouldn't have access to them. I've also reintroduced the Federal Extremist Protection Order Act. It's a bill that would make it such that every American and law enforcement officer in this country has a tool to act when someone is in danger to themselves or to others. These bills are critical to preventing all forms of gun violence, including mass shootings, partner violence, and suicide. I am continuing to fight for these bills as my colleagues and I are, and I'm so glad that we are all joined in this fight together, because it takes every single one of us to change this extremist gun culture. We need each and every one of you to stay engaged if we're going to make these changes. Together, I believe that we really can save lives. I know that it will happen. And I believe that my son, Jordan, who's no longer with us, will be so proud of the efforts of each and every one of us here tonight, especially our youth. He would be so proud of you and cheering you on, knowing that you are doing the best that you possibly can to make sure that no one ever has to be in fear of losing their life unnecessarily. So thank you all for joining tonight. Thank you to our amazing youth, and I look forward to this great discussion. And at this time, I'd like to make sure that we are turning our program over to our phenomenal, as I said, Pastor Mike McBride.
Well, I just want to, again, just appreciate all of these freedom fighting, peacemaking warriors on this call. It's just an amazing, amazing blessing to see the fruit of all of our work and the fruit of our labor. Before we jump in, August the 9th is such a sacred day for many of us who have been working to address all the many ways violence visits our community, as Michael Brown was killed 7 years ago on this day. And so I just want to acknowledge the Brown family and all our St. Louis family and many others. I know violence in our communities has visited so many cities across the country. So it's a very sacred day today. And I just want to lift up all of the freedom fighters who are working to that end. It is exciting to be able to join this conversation. I am also on the Facebook page of Representative Kelly, where a lot of folks are chiming in. So if you're on Facebook, on any Facebook page, you could be on Congresswoman McBath's page, Horsford's page, Blunt Rochester's page, or Kelly's page. Type your name in and what city you're from. We want to see how many folks all across the country are tuned into this conversation, because we are literally watching history unfold before our eyes. It is a phenomenal development, as has been said, that we are on the precipice of a historic investment in the gun violence prevention efforts that is about putting real community leadership, strategies, ideas, and healing front and center. And to have these 4 Congress members, along with so many others, being the tip of the spear in this effort, I want everybody to just celebrate our Congress members on this call. We got to celebrate them, y'all, because people complain when folks don't do nothing. Somebody say amen, right? But now they doing something, and I want them to know that they have an army of people who are so appreciative that you all are doing this. So I want to say thank you to you all for helping us get this first step. But as it's been stated, we're here to hear from the young people. We're here to hear from the young people who literally have to face walking to schools every day, often through war zones, who have had to attend funerals of their friends or their family members, often a half dozen, a dozen funerals before they graduate high school, have had to sit in hospital rooms and memorials, watching too many of their friends and family die at the hands of gun violence. Some of our speakers may have actually been victimized by gun violence personally. And so we believe that those who are closest to the pain must be central in the solutions. And to have these 4 young folks on this call tonight, phenomenal young people from across the country, we want to give them a few moments just to introduce themselves. And young people, don't feel the pressure to say everything you want to say in your first introduction, because I'm going to come back and ask you some questions and give you an opportunity to kind of go deeper off of what you or others say. But let's just start off with our Latalia. Am I saying that right?
It's Latayla.
Latayla.
Hi, my name is Latayla. I am a member of the Student Summit Action National Advisory Board, and a survivor of gun violence.
Thank you so much for being here. What city are you from?
I am from Georgia.
Georgia in the building. Oh, you see Representative McBath raising the roof already. All right, it's about to be some set tripping around peacemaking in here. Let's go to Brother Trayvon. Tell us your name and what city you're from.
Hello, my name is Trayvon. I'm from Chicago, and I'm from the Brave Youth Leaders of St. Sabina here in Chicago.
All right. Representative Kelly, she was singing your praises, bro. I don't know if you saw that. All right, Theo, tell us where you're from, brother, and your full name. Make sure I'm saying it right.
You good. My name is Theodore Wilson, or you can call me Theo, and I'm from Wilmington, Delaware. I'm 21 years old, and I'm here with the Community Intervention Team, or CIT for short.
All right, the president's right hand just gave you a big old shout out, so that means you got a cheerleader over there. All right, and Sean Jerion, I want to make sure I'm saying that right. Let us know where you're from and what city.
Yes, you said it right. My name is Sean Jerion, and I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm the president of the Nevada Partners Youth Advisory Council. It's a leadership program, and I'm happy to be here.
Wonderful. Let's celebrate these young people in the chat on the screen. Come on, y'all, put your hands together, throw up a big fist, hit a heart meme. Let's appreciate them because they're so courageous to come on and speak about this very important issue. Why don't we first start with Brother Trayvon? Tell us a little bit about your experience when you think about the issue of gun violence, and particularly in your own city. What would you want people to know, not just about your own experience, but what you think solutions are as it relates to addressing the issue of gun violence?
Okay. Well, I first just want to start by talking about how I got even introduced to gun violence. In 2005, in December, my cousin Vincent Avon, he was shot and killed down the street from his home. And the following year, on April 4th, 2006, my brother Terrell Bosley, he was shot and killed at church while getting ready for band rehearsal. And from that time, I started getting involved with a lot of activism within Chicago, which is why I joined the Brave Youth Leaders of St. Sabina. And that's how I got involved in gun violence work. Brave Youth Leaders, we just go out in the community, we do rallies, protests, mentoring, whatever the community is asking for as far as how to counteract violence. What's something I would like people to understand about Chicago's gun violence is that we are more than just numbers. A lot of times people just hear the numbers, it'd be like 75 people shot, 4 people killed. I want people to understand that these are not just numbers, these are actual people who are losing their lives. These are actual, your brothers, your sisters, doctors, lawyers, these are actual people and not just tallies that you can just act as if it means nothing. So that's one thing I want people to understand. As far as solutions, we all know that gun violence is a multifaceted issue. We have to work on our education system, a lot of other things. But one thing people can do is just in the community, just be more active. Each person can help one person in their community, and that goes a long way.
Amazing. LaTaylor, let me bring you on in here, down there in Georgia. Obviously, I'm sure you have a unique experience of how violence has impacted you. So why don't you just share what gives you the passion? Maybe it's a personal story that has impacted you, and you heard Brother Trayvon say it powerfully. People just got involved. What would you say to folks on this call as they're trying to figure out what they can do to make sure they can plug into this work to save the lives of so many of our young people?
Okay, so first I'm going to start off with saying a little bit about my personal experience relating to gun violence. So like Trayvon, my cousin was also shot and killed, but her situation was different from his cousin's. My cousin was shot and killed trying to leave a situation with an intimate partner. And I think that's what gave me my passion to pursue being an advocate within the gun violence prevention movement. And for people wanting to get into this movement and become advocates for gun violence prevention, I think just finding your passion or your niche within the movement and knowing what you do best and how you can contribute to what is already being done within the gun violence prevention movement.
Thank you, LaTaylor. Thanks for lifting that. Often we don't hear front and center enough that intimate partner violence, particularly for Black women and girls, is a huge part of how gun violence shows up in Black women's lives. And so thank you for lifting that up, and our prayers continue to be with you and your family as you all continue to live not only that trauma, but also be a part of the healing and the solutions. So thank you for lifting it up. I think that's very important. Theodore, come on and jump in here, good bro. Up there in Delaware, you know, I know that there's some tough spaces up in there. So I think you say you're 21 now?
Yes, I'm 21.
Yeah, man. So tell us a little bit about your story, your journey, and what have you learned, and what would you want people to know about how we address the issue of gun violence?
Well, first I wanted to say I started getting into it around, well, I officially got into it around like 2018, but in 2015, one of my close friends, like close family friends, was killed walking home one day. It was a blackout and stuff, so he decided to walk home, and tragically he lost his life. And I would just like to say that, like, if you would like to help, all you got to do is like just support and talk to your youth. Make sure they know that they have someone to talk to and someone to trust, and everything. That should be fun. I'm sorry, I'm a little kind of like stuttering and stuff, but I'm just a little nervous. I'm sorry.
You spitting that fire. You spitting that fire. I'm gonna come back to it in a second, because I want you to think about and answer this question. There's a lot of folks who feel like, man, how do I even talk to young people? You know, like there's this, you ever heard of a generational divide? Like the older people feel like the young people not listening. And so I would love for you maybe just to share a quick story after I go to Sean Jerry on. I'm gonna come back to you, and maybe you just share a quick story of how an older person was able to connect with you. Because sometimes people just need a good example. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
all right,
so
Sean Jerry on.
fine.
Yeah, I'm coming to you. Talk about Vegas, man. You know what I'm saying? What it's hot out there in Vegas, brother.
Yeah,
In mid city
definitely
cities of the
is.
bird.
Yes,
Tell
sir.
us about Vegas and why you have such a passion for this issue.
Well, it's kind of interesting, you know, because I see everyone has been affected by gun violence, but with me, I was actually shot in the face when I was 17. So it kind of hit me like, you know, that was myself, you know, I was like on death's doorstep. So it's like that always affected me. But even since like the year I got shot, 4 months before that, I lost my first close friend to gun violence. And then since that year, I've lost close to 25 young people that I've close with in the last year and a half. Like it's been crazy kind of out here in Vegas. And it's just with me, you know, as I say, I always tell my wild kids, you know, I always say, be the change you want to see, you know, and me, myself, I got shot. So, you know, like I said, if that didn't change me, then what would, you know, so I just decided to do better, you know, get out the streets, you know, and try to push the people around me to do better and want to see better. Because I know like a lot of young people, we want to see better, we want to do better, but it's hard because, you know, with the stigma of social media and everything around us, it's like we don't know where to start or we're scared to start. So, you know, I'm the one who's not scared, so I'll push.
Come on now. All y'all in the chat, y'all better put some snaps or some hearts on these 4 young people. They so courageously lifted up what they said, man. Jerry, Theodore, I'm gonna come to you. Then we're gonna go to LaTayla. Then I'm gonna start bringing the Congress members in. But tell us one example, Theo, of what one person did to make that connection with you. You know what I'm saying? So people can have a sense of, man, this is how easy it is.
Okay, so the director of the CIT organization, Mr. Daryl Wolfie Chambers, he actually was a close friend of mine, well, close family friend. And he actually, my mom reached out to him because she seen like the path that I was going down on wasn't the right path. So she reached out to him for help. And he basically exposed me to like more positive things. So once I got around that and then like basically showed that to my friends, what I was doing was positive and that I was trying to like make a change for myself. That's when, that's when my friends and stuff decided to follow behind me and decided to like help out with the community better.
Man, come on, y'all. I want y'all in the chat. I hope you're hearing this, right? sometimes we just overthink it. You think you got to say all these super deep things. I see you want to jump in, Representative Blunt Rochester. Jump on in here. How does that make you feel for Theo just to say it's literally that easy?
Well, first of all, I think, again, big props to all of the young people who are on here, because sometimes people think this stuff is easy. And Robin just said, we're proud of all of you. So we're proud of all of you for even doing this. And as Theo was talking, he mentioned CIT, which stands for Community Intervention Team. And he talked about a guy named Wolfie Chambers. And one of the questions when Theo was talking, and I thought the same, for some of the other young folks, is the issue of retaliation. Like, you had a friend that was shot, and the CIT team, part of their goal is to help there not to be this vicious cycle. Like, we're talking about breaking the cycle. Part of that cycle is retaliation. So I don't know if Theo wanted to share anything about what is CIT, and he works there now, right? Right, Theo?
Yeah, so I'm working there. CIT is, like I said, Community Intervention Team, where we focus on positive youth development, impactful community engagement, and with that, we hope to change some of the community norms. And with that work, help us show that structural violence most likely leads to physical and gun violence, things of sort like poor healthcare systems, poor housing units, things of that nature.
There you go. And you're right. It is easy to, like, once you care. I mean, I think that's what Theo was also saying. Wolfie cares, what happened.
Yeah.
So.
If you care, you'll figure out a way. I think I saw Representative Horsford wanting to hop in. This is like a good old fashioned testimony service. Folks just want to jump on in. Get on in here, Doc, and say a quick word.
Well, thank you, Pastor Mike and Theo and all of our young people. This is about creating opportunity to break the cycle of violence. And the fact that you are now working in a program that's actually changing lives and bringing young people into the solution, that's the model we want across the country. And that's why the investments in the Break the Cycle of Violence Act are so important. Today, we had the Secretary of Labor here talking about youth employment, right? Especially for Black unemployment. It's much higher than unemployment for other young people, 16 to 24. And what we know is if you aren't in school and you're not working, right, that's when trouble happens. And so that's why, in addition to investing in evidence-based, community-based solutions that work, we also want to make sure you have those opportunities to actually get the jobs, and not just any type of job, but jobs where you can really make a difference. And Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester has been leading on this key provision of the bill, and we're still working to make sure that it's pushed as a priority, because we can't build back better, as they say, and not make sure that we're doing that for young people, particularly Black young people who've experienced the trauma of violence or gun violence in their communities.
Absolutely, and I see Jerry on your hand shot up like a popcorn. So I'm gonna come to you, Trevon. All right, Taylor, you get ready, because I ain't gonna let the brothers, push you out. So you gonna speak after Sean Jerry. Trevon, you gonna bring up the rear. But Sean, jump on in here, because you heard the Congressman member say the importance of including jobs and opportunity. From your experience, do you feel like that's an important part of this conversation, making sure we have opportunity? And then LaTaylor, I want you to talk about trauma and healing as well as another part of this conversation. But go ahead, Brother Sean Jerion.
All right, so I believe, as young people, like I said, I'm in WOW. It's a youth advisory council, ages 16 to 24, that focuses on service and social change. So like we get to participate in different things, do community service. And I believe that's a big part because, as Congressman Horsford said, getting out of high school, it's like, if you don't go straight to college, it's like, what else do you do? And on top of that, if you're not working, and like the pandemic, it made it harder because you couldn't work and you couldn't go to college. So it's like a lot of us was just out here, and we was bored, we didn't want to stay in the house. So we was just kicking it. And then next thing you know, beef started. And then that's when the violence started to happen a lot. So I believe like like he said, things like my program and the Boys and Girls Club and like the Doolittle Center out here and different places like that could really reel kids in and give them a chance to do something important and impactful. I think that's real big and important. And also another thing I would just like to bring up, like Miss Lisa said, the CIT, it's like, I believe that's a big thing that needs to be put everywhere, because when I got shot myself, we didn't really have a CIT. It was no one to come talk to me about what I wanted to happen after, good. And I was lucky enough to understand that, this was a second chance at life. So, why try to go ruin my life to go get life in prison because I wanted to get retaliation, but a lot of young people don't think about that. They thinking about, oh, you just took my friend, you just took my cousin, you just tried to take my life. So I got to go get my lick back. And it's like, I feel like that's something that needs to be implemented into all communities, because that's really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Taylor, jump on in here, because I do think, as you've mentioned, the issue around intimate partner violence, it should not be lost upon us. There are lots of different ways that gun violence impacts our community, but we always need healing. No matter how it comes to us, we need healing. Talk a little bit about the kind of healing and help and all the different ways that you all have had to tap in, and what other young people and family members may need in order for them to just be able to take it one day at a time.
So one thing that I would say is how important mental health is and self-care when it comes to trauma relating to gun violence and trauma in general. And also just getting away from the stigmatization that comes with talking about mental health and talking about the problems or the trauma that young people or people in general go through on a day-to-day basis. So that's what I think when it comes to that. But also, I think that just being able to talk to somebody or being able to understand yourself and your limits, and when you need to vent or when you need to release stress or cry, I think coming to terms with yourself and being accepting of yourself and how your trauma affects you, I think that in general is one of the most important things to think about first when dealing with trauma and dealing with your mental health.
LaTaylor, wow, that was so amazing and beautifully stated, and I want to thank you for tackling that question. And I hope all of us take everything she said so to heart, right? Like having limits. It's okay to cry, brothers, fellas. She's not just talking to the sisters. Somebody say amen, right? Like it's all right for us to shed a tear and let some of this pain out, right? In some spaces that are safe. Mother Lucy, I'm a representative. I call her Mother Lucy, but Representative Lucy McBath, you want to jump in on this point? Because I know that a lot of our work from the beginning has always been about healing, and it's been about safety. Talk about what you're hearing and the work that you all are continuing to do to make sure our federal tax dollars are actually invested in the healing and the safety of our communities.
Well, thank you so much, Pastor Mike. And of course, as you know, my colleagues and I have been beating the pavement, really, really working as hard as we can on all of these issues. And we know that, gun violence can't be solved by one particular policy or one particular bill. It's going to take a series of policies and bills and funding, as we're talking about funding to make sure that we're eradicating gun violence. But, and also too, the thing is that I'm so excited finally that, with all the work that you've done and community intervention programs have been doing work in gun violence prevention for decades and just years and years and years, and never had the resources, never had the means, never had the manpower. And now that those resources are being put in place to help our community violence intervention organizations and communities do the work that they need to do, I'm really excited about that, because that really helps I always say that anytime we're able to change any policy in Washington, it always starts from the bottom up. It always starts with the grassroots organizing and mobilizing, and that's what changes the culture. And so with all the work that is being done now, it's really helped us in Washington and helped our state legislatures to understand how much resource and how many tools need to be invested in our communities to eradicate gun violence. And I'm just really glad that this is happening. I'm glad that this is being implemented. And of course, it takes time to change a culture. We're seeing that now. But I'm just really proud of the work that we've done. And as we've said, there's so much more that needs to be done. But I'm really excited with now the connectivity between the grassroots organizations, the community gun violence intervention organizations, and all the work that's now being done in the states and connected to what we're doing in the federal policy. It has to happen that way. And I'm glad now that gun violence prevention is being looked at this way in such a more holistic way. But I really just have to say that, you know, the change starts with the young people on the ground and making sure that they have the tools and resources financially. That is our responsibility as lawmakers. That is our responsibility to be able to give them the financial means and the tools so that they can go ahead and do the good work that they're doing. And, you know, as I wanted to just piggyback very quickly on what Latayla said, is that, you know, just trauma-informed decisions that these young people are making, I'm just so proud of them because they're making these decisions to be engaged and so vitally involved in their communities, even through their trauma. And that takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength to do that, because not everyone can do that. Not everyone wants to do that. So I'm even more encouraged now to make sure that we are continuing to invest even more financial resources in these community intervention programs where our young people are on the ground doing the work, because they're going to be the change agents. They're the ones that are the key to gun violence prevention changes and changing the culture in this country.
Yes, yes, yes. Come on, Trevon, come on, hop in here, bro. And you know, give us your take. You know, there's been so much said about jobs and about healing and about trauma, about good and important programs that are helping young people to heal and to make their pathway through some of these dangerous circumstances. What would you say? You know, folks are listening online. People are chiming in the chat. What would you say? What would you offer to the audience as we kind of start winding down here?
I would definitely say to the audience, you know, understand that you are a resource. Everybody has a talent. Everyone was given a talent by God, and you can contribute in any form to someone's life. Like, especially like we were trying to do a program back when the pandemic first started with like teachers and everything, because, you know, most students had to learn online. And most students affected by poverty, learning online was a lot more difficult than it already was in the education system they were already in. So we wanted these teachers to go out to be tutors, to tutor some of the youth within the community to try to help out. And just understanding that that is just one little thing that one person can contribute to this gun violence situation. So if you have a job or something where you can bring in other youth and other grown people, especially young men with felonies and other records, if you have these resources, provide them to your community, because all it takes is one little thing to be the difference in saving someone's life.
Man, I want y'all, listen, I want y'all to take note of these young people, because somebody got to put y'all on the track to lead the next generations of elected officials and programs that are doing this. Representative Kelly, I'm kind of let you have a little bit of the last word on this, because obviously you, I remember one of the first times we met with you and you were talking about the urban jobs and all these different other programs. It must be just a wonderful blessing to hear how all the work is coming together. We have over 40 or 50 or so folks watching online, various different pages. I mean, it seems like there's a groundswell of support. Seems like the wind is at our back. I'm gonna give all of y'all a chance just to let us know, what would you want everyone to do to make sure we can bring this across the finish line?
Well, first of all, I just want to thank all the young people and everything you said we are taking to heart. And, you're the wind beneath our wings. You're the reason that we do all of this. LaTaylor, it sounds like you need to go into being a psychologist or a psychiatrist. We need more Black folks in the healthcare arena, especially mental health. So think about it, because you have that down. So thank you so much. All of you are role models, and all of you have shown that one person can make a difference, just that everybody needs to try it, because it is going to take a village. One thing we didn't really talk about so much was suicide. And that's one thing we're seeing more suicide in the Black community, and more than we've seen. And, like you said, there's a stigma around mental health, but I just want to encourage people, there are hotlines you can call, there are people you can call if you're ever feeling that way. And when you use a gun, you're a lot more successful than using other types of ways to take your life. And usually people that survive using those other types, they're glad that they survived. So we just encourage you to please, call hotline numbers. The other thing I always say, nothing stops a bullet like an opportunity. And I think all the young people talked about that we need to give opportunities, whether it's a job skills, a hobby, a mentor, furthering your education, whatever it is, that will save lives and change lives. And then lastly, I know Trey's mom has heard me say this, and Lucy has heard me say this, and I'm going to say it about Stephen and Sean and all of you. You've been shot. You guys have lost loved ones, but you did not close your door. You are out there fighting. I respect you so much for that. That you could say, it happened to me. I'm not going to be involved in that kind of thing. But each one of you choose to be involved and to make a difference. And I just respect all of you so very much. You are so selfless. And I just think, you're so brave and courageous. I feel like that about my colleagues and about all of you young people. And thank you, Pastor Mike, for everything you do.
Well, I'm just honored, and I want y'all to know, young people, there's a whole army of peacemakers in your city and across the country. We're part of the Black Brown Peace Consortium. You got the Life Camp. You got Ready in Chicago. You got CJF, Live Free. I mean, there's people all across the country that want to have y'all's back. And so don't feel like you have to do this work alone. We want you young people to enjoy being young. I'm glad that y'all are freedom fighters, but enjoy your youth, because believe me, you ain't gonna be young always. you gonna get older, and you got to carry the weight of the world. Representative Lisa Blunt Rochester, any final words for all of us? And then we'll come to Representative Horsford. And then young people, I want y'all to give us a 30-second send off, your most powerful quote. I see Sean Jerry on already in the chat, busting rhymes. So we let you read your quote, dear brother. That brother on fire. Representative Lisa Blunt Rochester, some final words to us.
Thank you, first of all, so much, Pastor Mike, for facilitating. Thank you, especially for the young people, for your voices, your power, your passion, and to my colleagues who I love. I love these people. As I was sitting here, I was just thinking about the week that I've had. And as Stephen Horsford mentioned, I was Secretary of Labor in Delaware. So jobs, and opportunity, and being an entrepreneur. So what we hope is that we can see not just the old, like one summer youth thing, but like things that you could do all year round that grow you technologically, that can give you skills to be entrepreneurs, to be creative. And so that's important. Another thing is creativity and innovation. I saw 2 programs this week. One was urban farming, and it was on a city block that is used to having gun violence. They have not had one shooting in 2 years. And that was innovative. I went to a teen warehouse in Delaware and saw trap yoga, like dealing with our mental, physical, and spiritual and trauma, but doing it in an innovative way. So innovation and creativity is really important at this moment. And lastly, I would just say we can't lose hope. We got to keep the faith. And this morning I woke up to Lamentations, and it was like this I recalled to my mind. Remember what we came from and know that there is still much more to do. So thank you so much for everybody for your efforts. Keep the faith.
Preacher, man, I need to give you my collar. I need to go study again. She preached a sermon on a Monday evening. That was amazing. Representative Horsford, any final words to us?
Thank you, Pastor Mike, and to my colleagues and to the young people once again. Let me just say, you all are the solution. You absolutely give us the purpose that we need, but we are counting on you to help make sure that as we pass the Break the Cycle of Violence Act, that we are ready to really mobilize these community intervention solutions that will work. Why? Because guess what? There are people out there right now who are trying to make this about the crime rate, right? Or the police issues and all the other things, and not about you or your future or your safety or what it means to actually solve a problem. So we need this to work. We need the solution to work. And I cannot think of a better opportunity than right now, Pastor McBride, under your leadership and all of the organizations across the country, to prove everyone that this is the way it's going to work. We have the support of President Biden and Vice President Harris. We have the resources, and we now need to put the pressure on the process to get this done. If it were up to us right here on this call, it would have already been done, right? But now, over the next few weeks, we really do have to mobilize. For those who are watching us on Facebook, contact our offices and find out what you can do to help put this over the finish line. But I just want to thank our young people again. All things are possible through God. That's my scripture. That's the one that holds me in my foundation. And I truly believe that this is possible with each and every one of you. So thank you very much. It's been great to be a part of this conversation.
Wonderful. Mother Lucy, say a word, and then young people, we're going to come to y'all, give y'all 30 seconds to give us another kind of closing send off.
Well, Pastor Mike, I have to carry in on the tail of what my colleagues have said. And, I always believe in Hebrews 11:1, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. So the fact that we are believing that gun safety will come to fruition for all of our communities, and we'll not lose one more young person, not one more auntie, one more uncle, one more grandmother, one more grandfather, one more sister, or one more brother. I'm believing and knowing that that is coming to fruition because the word says it will. And so we're standing on the word, standing on the truth of what each and every one of these young people is doing in their communities, and it will come to pass. And so I'm just so grateful. I am not worried about our future because they are in the trenches, and I'm so grateful to be able to stand alongside them and fight for their futures, help them to fight for their own futures.
Yes. All right, young people, let's go to Theo out of Delaware. Come on, brother. Give us a final word, good brother.
First, I would like to say thank you for letting me speak. And one thing is, it's never too late to help. You think somebody is too deep in the game or whatever they say, just try to reach out, ask them for help, and just listen to them. Be there, be a mentor for them, a positive mentor for them.
All right, come on, y'all. In the chat, let's appreciate Brother Theo, all the way from Delaware, bringing his voice, his experience. Loved one LaTaylor, please give us some final thoughts. And they already drafted you for all kind of careers. So, but tell us a final thought.
My final thought would be to really invest not only in your mental health, but also in community-based programs that fight for intervention and fight for making trauma-informed decisions that will impact the way that gun violence is in the future.
LaTaylor, come on, y'all. Let's appreciate LaTaylor. Thank you so much for your eloquence and your courage and your brilliance. Brother Trey from Chi-Town. Holla, boy. Tell us what you got, man.
Got you. Well, for my people that are ready to begin the fight against gun violence, understand that it's a process and it doesn't happen overnight, but everything can change. Anything is possible. Hopeful. Some more people that are worried about joining into the fight who are not ready, or somebody else will do it. Understand that gun violence is a growing issue. If nothing is done about it today, it will be at your doorstep.
Thank you, Brother Trey. And Sean Cherion wants to send us on out with one of his rhymes with a poem. So last word, Brother Sean Cherion. Let us know what you think. You're muted, dear brother.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to say first, thank you to all the adults in the chat, because like we don't get, as young people, we don't get to see this often, you know, and this is what's going to change the generation, is you guys putting your faith in us. Because a lot of times we might feel like y'all don't care. You know, a lot of young people might not feel like y'all don't care. So seeing y'all actually put the time and effort to hear us out is really a blessing. So I thank you there. But this poem is called Sorry, Brianna. It was for Breonna Taylor. And I'll start it off as Brianna, I'm sorry. See, right now, you're probably sitting down looking from God's domain. See, we fought long and hard. We protest and campaign to get your killers arraigned. But you see, as we know, we live in a system that cannot be swayed. See, it's hard to get that through my brain. It's hard to explain why another innocent Black individual had to be slain. Brianna, I'm sorry. The way they killed you was so inhumane. My parents told me to calm down and pray, but I'm tired of it. It's driving me insane. Brianna, I'm sorry. If equality was a rain, our people are in a drought, but the smoke from that officer's gun lit a fire in the Black community and it spread it throughout. We're gonna hit the streets, we're gonna scream and shout. The celebrities are gonna use their clout, and we're gonna win this bout. See, Brianna, they did you foul. Now 3 officers are collecting checks, just laid back sitting on their couch, and their wives are probably proud. Brianna, I'm sorry. I will not be silenced, I will not be tamed to you that I vow. I'll call the government another careless officer acquitted that cannot be allowed. Brianna, listen to the crowd's chants of Black Lives Matter with a beautiful sound. Brianna, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Brother Sean Cherion. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure hosting, and to all of you all, please, the Fun Peace Coalition, we have your back. Both our Congress members, we have your back. Our young people and community members listening, we have your back. Reach out to us in your city if you need some support, and we're going to rock with y'all all the way to the finish line. Representative Robin Kelly, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you again for your leadership and giving a bootleg preacher another opportunity to rock with you. God bless y'all.
Just want to thank everybody again. Young people, you did a tremendous job, and we need to listen to you. And to my colleagues, I think Lisa Blunt Rochester said it, that she loved you. And I will say the same thing. You guys are fantastic, and you are the wind beneath my wings. We keep each other going, and we will tell the young people who's ever listened, we are in this fight until the very end. We will have peace in the streets. You can count on us. I will tell you that, and we will continue to listen. So thank you to everybody that tuned in. Pastor Mike, you did another phenomenal job. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And really Godspeed and blessings to everyone. And I can't get off without saying, please get vaccinated. Please get vaccinated. We want to save lives. Please get vaccinated. Thank you so much, everybody.